Yes, so first let's hear a bit about how independent producers can accelerate climate action in their companies and productions. Here to talk us through this, using the ESG framework, for those of you who don't know what ESG stands for, like I didn't, it's for environmental and social guidelines. We have Marsha Newbery, the VP of Sustainability and Business Affairs at Thunderbird Entertainment and Executive Director of Producing for the Planet. Can you raise your hand? There she is. And Jennifer Twiner-McCarron, who's the CEO and Chair of Thunderbird Entertainment Group. There she is. And Catherine Warren is going to be our moderator. Catherine is the president of FanTrust. But first, we're just going to have a few words from Shane Harker, who is the founder and president of Rethink Resource. Thank you, Marsha, Jennifer, Catherine, and hello, Shane.
Hi, everyone. Just want to take a minute to introduce myself. Shane Harker, founder and president of Rethink Resource. We've partnered with Producing for the Planet. And how that kind of came about was we all have a common enemy, and that's climate change. In my world, it's waste. And it's not just waste, it's also the fuel and the trucks that we go to pick the stuff up with. You know, the greatest thing about the waste industry from a business perspective is everybody's got it, and it's a big business. And you learn so much from different industries, and that's the greatest value to me. The worst thing, like strengths and weaknesses, the worst thing is that everybody's got it and we've got too much of it. And so through today, we've heard people talk about saving the planet, and we've partnered with Producing for the Planet, and in our initial discussion, Marsha and we kind of nerded out and became friends. And so, at least I think we're friends, Marsha. And, you know, we talked about what's actually going on. So the name fits, and the world talks like that. They talk about the planet and we're saving the planet, but what we're actually saving is humanity. The world's gonna be fine. And I think we need to change the narrative a little bit, like when we talk about that. And earlier today, you know, when we're talking about reservations that don't have salmon or wildfires, I had like a heavy heart. Like, you know, I think we all get climate anxiety sometimes, and it was really tough. Why that's transforming and I'm excited is because of, and what draws me to the film industry, because we do waste for everybody, but what draws me to the film industry is amazing people like Marsha that I've met, and the people here, and how much we care and why we're here in SPF. So I just want to take an opportunity to introduce myself, talk about a little bit of the partnership with Producing for the Planet. I don't know the other two lovely people on stage, but I'm sure they're pretty cool if they hang out with Marsha. And that's me. Thank you.
Try that. Yes. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to be here in one of the world's greatest cities, a city that many of us call home, Vancouver, and discussing this very motivating topic of environmental social governance with two entertainment thought leaders, my colleagues, Marsha and Jennifer. And I am very grateful to be here together with all of you on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh people. And in particular, I'm grateful for what we can learn when we convene with purpose. Environmental social governance has really gained momentum in the past couple of decades, and that's when the United Nations first kind of called upon companies to align their business strategies with the Sustainable Development Goals. So social equality, ethical oversight, environmentalism, and to provide a lens to help investors to evaluate companies based on their contributions to this triple bottom line of people, planet, and prosperity. And my own background in climate physics launched this lifelong commitment that I have to sustainability. But much later in my career as CEO of Vancouver Economic Commission, I worked with the team to oversee the Vancouver Film Commission, and I learned 3 important lessons that I just wanted to share with you to set the stage. And these are, first, that businesses can do well by doing good, that sustainability and success are not at all mutually exclusive. In fact, they are mutually reinforcing. And that means that a focus on the environment can actually lead to increased revenues, relationships, and reach. And we always want to keep that in our back pocket because ESG can also be a bit of a battleground. The second is that equitable leadership delivers. So companies with more women on boards and in senior management, as we have today, tend to outperform male-dominated competitors when it comes to these ESG measures. And then third, companies with strong ESG rankings tend to have better long-term financial returns to their shareholders. And this is partly because they manage risks effectively, because they innovate, and they build stronger relationships with stakeholders. And you know, Vancouver is both a green powerhouse as well as a driving force in entertainment, and that is all of you. We are the global home to Greenpeace, to Adbusters, to the Suzuki Foundation. We're also a clean tech capital and world leaders in animation and visual effects. So at the heart of our $4 billion production economy, today, all of us right here in this room are very much right place, right time to do this hard work together. So I want to thank all of you for being here and leaning in to something that is challenging and will take some time to push the needle on. So we're going to dive in right now. I'd love to start with you, Jennifer, please. As CEO of Thunderbird, which is a publicly traded company, tell us about your sustainability journey, where you started personally as well, and what things look like for you in terms of sustainability today.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having us on this panel on this important issue. The journey to sustainability really started with my colleague Marsha Newbery, who championed the importance of it. Not only as a public company do we need to tick ESG boxes now, but as CEO and chair, I always remind myself, who do I work for? Ultimately, I work for all the employees, all of the buyers, and all of the shareholders equally. And when it relates to those 3 areas, employees, the average age of our workforce is, I think, 27. I'm bringing it up considerably. But there's a lot of fear. I have 3 teenagers as well, and I see firsthand the general anxiety around watching climate change and seeing these stories and looking at, Hurricane Milton hitting in Florida. And what we see is real evidence now when August's here, the kids can't play sports because there's smoke the whole month. And seeing the change, it evokes fear. And post-pandemic, one thing I worry about running a company is a feeling of belonging and community and feeling part of something and a sense of pride, which is harder to instill in a hybrid world that became more disconnected. And so through the amazing work that Marsha has done when it comes to the employees, I feel a sense of engagement. We've become a B Corp at Atomic Cartoons, which I'm extremely proud of. Thank you to Marsha and her hard work making that happen. A feeling of belonging, a feeling of being part of something, a feeling of control. Maybe I work for someone, or not myself, but a company that cares. And this helps bring in top talent. So it's a win-win. We win because top talent cares about where they work and what the company values are. So there's that. Our shareholders want us to be hitting all of the boxes. The metrics show that when you do have a strong value system, cultural inclusion, diversity, all of these things that ESG oversees, the numbers are better. I mean, they're right there in the metrics. And then when it relates to the buyers, we've seen true evidence of buyers going, okay, we're going to place this show. We've got 3 different companies. Where are we going to go? Well, Netflix, knowing that, we care about this issue and we were spending a lot of time, came to us and said, let's partner more in sustainability and storytelling. And then they're running, sessions on how you just put sustainability in storytelling. Like, don't make it a big preachy thing. Just have solar panels in the background if you're doing an animated show. And so then we do partnering with Netflix and talking to like storyboard artists or designers, or how do we make it part of the normal conversation? So then buyers, it's a win-win. Not only is it ticking all these boxes, but then they think of us for work as well. So that's sort of personally and professionally how I've become more passionate about the issue, because I see how it serves all of these boxes. And of course, none of this could have happened without Marsha, who's a true expert and leader in the area. And we're so lucky to have her at Thunderbird.
You're the positive Trojan horse. That's great. And so, what we've just learned from Jennifer is this is very much more than window dressing or box ticking. It is actually organic to building the strength and the foundation of the business and attracting like-minded people through your talent initiatives that can support you on this journey.
Right. When
Fantastic.
when you can build a company culture, I think that has a strong value system and that's communicated well, you can create a greater sense of belonging. People feel safe. Hopefully less people feel like a number. And then as a win, better work can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Marsha, so as a true expert in this field and in your work in producing for the planet, you're actually inspiring other leaders across the country and in turn making a difference in North America and beyond. What inspired you to start this, and what are your goals for its future?
I guess the truth is that I've been motivated almost entirely by fear and optimism, and I'm just naturally really tenacious, and I refuse to take no for an answer on kind of anything. So my personal journey, I always really cared about the environment, but didn't have a way to incorporate it into my work until, honestly, I was at the CMPA prior to coming to Thunderbird, and I got exposed to like Real Green, who was doing incredible work and the things happening in BC, and got engaged in that. But I saw an opportunity to do an even better job at engaging producers in a different way. And I saw some other industries doing really cool things around coalitions. And I just thought, oh, that will totally work. I knew that producers could come together and make a commitment and help each other out. So that really, motivated me. Because I think we have to solve this problem. I'm reminded, I'm glued right now to news about Milton, and I can't look away from sort of these natural disasters. And in the heat dome, I had to sleep in my car with my cats because we didn't have air conditioning, and it was 46 degrees in my apartment, and my cats would have died. Like, it was horrible, and that was a real penny drop moment for me of like, oh, I get it. This is really serious, and we're not safe here in BC from this. There's nowhere safe from this. So I just whatever I can do to convince producers, businesses, anyone who will listen, I will talk to them about sustainability and try and find that piece that matters to them. Like, how do I get the penny to drop for them? What can they do, and help bring that out? Sorry, I'm rambling. Have I answered your question?
Very, very important to have that personal story and the touchstone. In terms of the organization itself, what are the goals and the aspirations?
So we're a coalition. We have 84 producers right now across the country, big and small, in almost every province in Canada right now. And we are asking producers to make a formal commitment. So there's a formal commitment that they have to sign on to. And then there's annual reporting. So like every year, we ask all of our members, as a part of staying in the coalition, like, what did you actually do to reduce emissions or embrace sustainability or put policies in place, that kind of thing. The goal is very simple, actually. It's just trying to accelerate the adoption of these sustainable practices. There's And I think there's an underestimation of how hard it can actually be. Like, yes, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, but there's so much to do. And when you sort of look at it, it can be very overwhelming. So the goal is to leverage the collective knowledge, like everybody doing it together. We have meetings all the time with producers where someone will say, oh, I can't figure out what to do about food waste. And someone else will say, oh, I actually just tried this new thing, and here's how it worked. And they go, oh my God, I'm gonna try that. That's a really cool idea. And what's the name of the person that helped you with that? Like, so there's so much knowledge sharing and learning. I think that's really the goal, just trying to bring them all together so that we all kind of get on the train as quickly as possible.
Is there an opportunity, or does a platform exist for this knowledge sharing, so that people can easily also track and benchmark against one another?
Well, yes. So, I mean, we have, a website. We have a website, and it has a knowledge hub where we are continually building sort of case studies. So just last week, I had another producer reach out and said, we actually tried something really cool on a new series, and we want to share it with producers. So we're going to sit down with them and write up a case study, and it will be kind of on the knowledge hub. We also do regular meetings with all of our members. Like, everybody come and tell stories. We sort of pick a problem each time and go, we're going to do a deep dive and everyone talk about this. Whether it's waste or emissions or catering or cutting travel, whatever it is. So that's the main format. We find that producers in particular, I think the information and knowledge that's the most sticky for them, that they really remember and that they want to listen to, isn't necessarily something just written down. They want to hear from another producer. They want to hear from someone else and in their peer group who has tried something and they've tested it and they learned lessons. And it's very, very impactful. So we try and do as much of that as humanly possible.
And for our audience here today, can they go onto the website? Can they take advantage of these resources, participate in the knowledge sharing?
Yes, so all of the resources that we make at Producing for the Planet are available free to everyone. You don't have to be part of the coalition to take advantage of them. But if there are producers here who are not signed up, we welcome you to consider joining and be part of the coalition. But yeah, it's available to everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. I encourage everyone to take advantage of it. And, it's the kind of thing where from market to market, like I can imagine year over year at Banff, people are going to want to know, like, how is Canada moving the needle in this area?
Yeah, I mean, we do get a lot of interest from international stakeholders. I get reach outs all the time for how is it going? How have you engaged your community? And I think that's actually a beautiful thing. There's a lot of conversation. Everyone just is fighting for the same goal. We're all moving in the same direction. So there's a lot of international collaboration as well.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer, when you're collaborating, for example, with your board and sitting around the boardroom table, you're dealing with, I imagine, so many different pressures and contraction of the industry and buyers' needs and issues and technological transformation. Where does ESG fit into those meetings?
It's a great question and a very timely one because I just walked out of my year-end board meeting. So I just faced it. I think it's great because you open every board meeting with an audit meeting, and PwC audits us, and they do a report now on ESG. Are you meeting ESG initiatives? Marsha always makes us look really good because PwC will come in and say Thunderbird's leading in the industry, which is great. And then sometimes I do get questions from the board. Okay, you're a leader. How far do you need to lead when, there's all these other headwinds in the industry? And then all I go back to is we absolutely need to lead because we are a leader in the industry, and this is one hugely important aspect. It gets, brings us better talent. It attracts buyers to us who want to say, hey, we're partnering on a show that with a company that's become a B Corp. There is gravitas to that. So even though there's intangibles, simply the help of PwC now, and this is only recently, but it's increasing in importance, runs a full audit on, are you ticking all the boxes? So to remain a public company, we're traded on the TSXV, which is kind of the baby exchange. But as we look at getting up to the TSX and beyond, that's going to be happening for us. What the boxes you need to check in terms of being compliant increase as it relates to ESG. So it's hugely important that you are covering all of those areas. And then of course there's just the other benefits I talked about with talent and buyer engagement. And also as it relates to a public company, I think helps attract the right shareholders, because especially younger shareholders care about where they're putting their money. So if they're going to invest in a company, if I can get on and I'm pitching the company and say it's a B Corp, there's many investors now who don't want to be associated with a company that isn't very ESG compliant. So there's added benefits to that as well. And I do think it is, what's that saying? You can't boil the ocean, but you can boil one pot at a time. I do start to see that grassroots movement increasing. And then you get surrounded by the right value system, the right voices, that gains the momentum, and slowly we're gaining momentum.
Do you see that move to transitioning Atomic to a B Corp as kind of the thin end of the wedge, and ultimately the whole company will become a B Corp?
That is the goal, certainly. I'm looking at Marsha. It was easier to do it with an animation company. It's undeniable.
Why is that? Let's talk a bit about that.
Well, becoming a B Corp, especially for a large company, it's a tremendous amount of work. It's a very hard certification to get. It took us, all told, about 2 years.
Yeah, and I thought we were doing really well, and then you get your initial scorecard back, and you're like, oh no. There's so much more we have to improve upon.
Yeah, there were many sort of iterations of going through the B Corp assessment to figure out what we could change and what we could handle, and what was step one and what was step two, and what was the roadmap to sort of improve as a company. B Corp isn't really set up that well for public companies, to be honest. They're in the process now of reorganizing their whole assessment. So maybe when the new one comes out, which might be next year at some point, it'll be easier for a company like Thunderbird to consider kind of getting the whole group organized as a B Corp.
And just for everyone in the audience, a B Corp or a beneficial corporation allows you to make a different kind of commitment to your shareholder that isn't just about profitability measurements. So very much this triple bottom line. And as a result, there can be resistance when you're coming to publicly traded companies.
Well, yeah, and the B Corp assessment isn't just an environmental assessment, for example. They measure you on 5 or 6 different areas. They look at all of your worker benefits, how all of your employees are contracted, every single governance policy, every single policy and contract you have with customers. And for us as a content maker, they wanted to look at all of the content that we made. And we're really questioning, is this good content or is it bad content? From an impact perspective, which was tricky to navigate. How do you prove that? So
Yeah. Well, I can imagine, first of all, it's content. So it's the substance of the stories you're telling, the plot lines, the characters. It's also the production, how is this content developed, produced, distributed, marketed? And then corporate, how does the company operate? Who are you hiring? How are you actually implementing good governance? So when it comes to that kind of trifecta, Jennifer, how are you load balancing all of that?
Yeah, you try and look at it in equal parts, certainly the environmental, the social, the governance. I always look for the silver linings, and there's a lot of things. It holds us to standards like what charities are you supporting? What opportunities are you providing for your employees to volunteer? That's cool stuff to be able to actually make that a mandate, not just a loose idea. So I think it really forces you to step up in ways that otherwise might just seem like a good idea, but then you don't actually follow through. And that's what I really love about it, because I couldn't agree more with all of the policies. Or, when you're booking flight travel, I've messaged Marsha before, should I take the train or what, and those are good decisions to be made, because we all, again, it's a grassroots movement. Every micro decision you make, or now we're looking at doing a show, the Food Network say, hey, we want another show from you. Well, let's do it with a vegan leader, things like that, and get more word out about that. Not in a preachy, judgmental way, just in a way of like, how do you take more control back in an issue that's scary? And is this something that you could personally do? So I think it just forces the right conversations.
Something that we've talked a bit about is that leading in anything, but leading in ESG is particularly difficult. You face pushback. There are a lot of, even though, entertainment is considered a pretty progressive sector, there's still pushback. So what kinds of challenges have you faced, and how are you addressing those head on?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Catherine. I think, we don't pretend to be at our company saving the whales. We're really not. I mean, when you break down what we're doing, say on the kids' business, hopefully we're helping parents boil potatoes quietly and safely, and they're putting on some relatively good content for the kids. I mean, that is the value of what we're doing, and the kids are happy, and there's some good message to it. But at the end of the day, you kind of do want to participate as good corporate citizens and operate with that integrity through every aspect of your business. How do we stand up? How do we lead with kindness? How do we be humble? How do we care about others around us more than ourselves? What legacy are we leaving behind? And even though there's no delusions of grandeur in terms of what we're doing, we really are helping parents make dinner safely. At the end of the day, you have an obligation, I think, to be a great corporate citizen. And it makes, if everybody starts to get on that train, that's when a huge wave of difference will happen. So the pressures I face, because there are always cut costs. Why do you spend this much on these initiatives? And sometimes it's harder to quantify the return. But I'm steadfast in the return because I know it's the right thing to do. And I think more than ever, we need values-based leadership in this world on every level. We see it through so much of the world. This is a place we can start and feel proud and glue our employees and build a community.
That's such a great sentiment, and I'm getting, unfortunately, the 1 minute warning, and I thought we had 45 minutes for our session. So I would like to ask one more question before we wrap up, which is, how do you each make connections between Indigenous reconciliation and environmental social governance, and how does that impact each of your missions?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? Okay, well, coming into this role, in 2018, when I took on the job of CEO, I was instantly concerned about the name Thunderbird Entertainment, because we don't have Indigenous leadership. And the gentleman that started the company, almost 30 years ago, named as an homage to the Pacific Northwest. Now, here we are, fast forward, there's issues with that. We do a lot of shows like Dead Man's Curse or Molly of Denali. We work with Indigenous communities. We take it really seriously. For Molly of Denali, we've launched over 50 different people in the industry. We work directly with the elders in Denali. It's staffed all authentically. The company won a Peabody Award for our work in Thunderbird was voted most diverse and inclusive company in 2022. So we just won the Reconciliation Award from the Canadian government. So we take a lot of pride and care in every production that we can. We also partnered with the Stateless Nation. They heard we were going to change our name, and they said, "Hey, don't change, your name. You're actually doing a pretty good job. So let's have a Truth and Reconciliation ceremony." So on December 16th of 2022, we all were invited to their nation, and we had a truth and reconciliation ceremony, and we were lucky that they blessed us with the name. Now that also comes with certain things that how we have to be handling ourselves, but we try to do that day in, day out throughout our work. So that was a great honor, one we don't take lightly, and we love the name, and we're proud, and to have the support of the Stateless Nation means, can't even tell you. So it was, that's just some ways.
I mean, for Producing for the Planet, I mean, we're still at the very beginning of that journey, but it's very much on our radar. You know, we published a producer guide, a climate action guide earlier this year, and we engaged an Indigenous cultural consultant to go through every single word of that and say, like, what have we got wrong? What are we not considering? What perspective have we missed? And we made a lot of changes to the guide because of the knowledge that they gave us. So I take the position of Producing for the Planet that we're here to really learn. You know, I'm not about to tell any Indigenous producers sort of how to think about sustainability. I want to hear from them. We try really hard to engage Indigenous producers. We have an Indigenous-led company on our steering committee, so that they're really involved in kind of that governance level and helping us learn and consider the best way to engage and think about sustainability, not just for, you know, the standard industry, but also for their communities.
Because Indigenous governance is quite different from, let's say, capitalist governance. So that's really fascinating.
I think learning from is right. Even in the Thunderbird side, which Marsha is part of, we have Wapanatahk Media, which I should note, led by two amazing female Indigenous creators. And we partnered with them, and they work out of our Great Pacific office, and we do shows in partnership, like Dr. Savannah Wild-Rose Vet and whatnot, and from a position of learning.
And Wapanatahk Media is doing their first sustainability plan tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm very excited about
Wow. All right. Well, from a position of learning, I hope you have all benefited from this afternoon. I know I have. Thank you both to our expert guests. And Marsha, you're doing wonderful work. Jennifer, you're leading an awesome company. And to our audience, lead on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.